Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here. So today we're going to discuss this question. I saw this online and I thought it would be interesting to talk about it. So the question says, how do Filipinos feel about foreigners marrying Filipinas? So in most cases, it's not an issue. Mixed marriages are very common in the Philippines and a lot of Filipinos have relatives abroad. There's a lot of overseas Filipino workers, and a lot of times when they leave the country to work abroad, they're single, and while working that long contract they do end up meeting someone abroad, and a lot of relationships start that way. So it's very common to see a lot of interracial couples, and interracial marriages are very widely accepted in the country. Filipinos generally are also very friendly to foreigners. We've learned how to navigate that kind of situation, that kind of relationship. And a lot of that has to do with the history of the country. When it comes to getting along with foreigners, I think the Philippines have really learned how to adapt because of the history of the country. Looking at it, you've got the Spanish colonization that lasted for 300 years, which is a very long time. And then you've got the Japanese occupation. We also have, the settlement of the Americans during the Spanish colonial period. So even up to this day, when it comes to like the influence of the West, Americans specifically, there's a lot of influence. And we also have a lot of Chinese in the Philippines. So when it comes to getting along with foreigners, Filipinos are, I would say, become well versed at it. And that's why you can also see that amongst the countries in Asia, the Philippines is one of those countries that very welcoming to foreigners. Filipinos, unlike other countries, we've also learned how to kind of moved on from history. I would say, like, forgive and forget. Filipinos, if you think about it, the relationship of Filipinos and Japanese, for example, you'd think, oh, there would be a lot of hate. That's actually not the case. Filipinos, for have moved on and are very friendly to the Japanese. So I'm just giving kind of an example on how we deal with foreigners. So in general, when people see a couple, an interracial couple, the opinions are mostly positive. But in all honesty, yes, there are a lot of pro West. I would focus on the West. Pro West, pro Americans, but there are also a lot of groups that I would not really consider because they have claimed that they are anti Americans. For example, the New People's Army of the Philippines, that's the Communist Party of the Philippines, they are very anti American. And a lot of it, it's not really because they're against the person or they don't like the person. I think it's mostly the influence that the person will bring, the Western influence, what they call it. And there's no better way when it comes to influencing someone than to marry them. When you marry someone, you not just marry the person, but it comes with as a package, the culture, everything, the tradition. So that's one of the things that those people they don't like, the Western influence. So yes, in general, let's talk about the positive viewpoint or the positive opinions. In this Philippines, there's this phenomena. I will call it a phenomena or maybe a subculture. I don't know what you call it, but there's this term called can't talk anymore, called love teams. So Filipinos cheer for, there's a lot of fans that comes with this, for couples, celebrity couples. Like agencies would put together two young, good-looking couple, and this couple will end up having fans. People will cheer for them, and people would really want this couple to be together, not just on screen, but in real life. Yes, that's kind of the, if you're listening to this, you're probably like, what is that? That's so weird. It's almost like watching, what popular movies are here. The Nothing Hill, for example. Julia Robertson, I can't remember his name. Like people will see something like that on screen. They want that to happen in real life. Like they really want people on screen to be together in real life. There's that feeling of, I guess, kilig. I don't know if you're familiar with that, if you're in the Philippines, if you're a foreigner living there. But kilig is basically that feeling of excitement because you're in love or you see someone in love, that butterfly in your stomach kind of thing. But yeah, people would cheer for people. People also like to match couples. So most of the times the opinions are positive when they see a couple. It doesn't matter if that's a Filipino couple or that is an interracial couple, especially if you're both young and good looking people. Like, oh, I wonder what their kid's gonna look like. Like it's a weird part of the culture, but it's, I don't know if Filipinos are the only ones who do this, but yeah, it's definitely a part of subculture, I would say. People will cheer for couples, especially if the couple look good together. People like it. People are happy for the couple. It's almost like, I guess in general, Filipinos are kind of romantic in that way. So yes, majority of people have positive opinion because of that. But on the other hand, yes, there are some negative opinions. As someone who is married to a foreigner, I have encountered some stigmatism and also some gossiping. So let's talk about the gossiping because, if you're with someone or you're, getting into that stage where, you're thinking about taking that relationship to the next level, it's good to know some of the things that you might encounter, and just to have an idea on how to deal with it. Okay, so the first gossip, this one's very common, not just here but also in the Philippines. Most people will say, well, the Filipina is marrying this foreigner because she wants to have a better life. And some people think that way. I should say most people think that way because of the assumption that the foreigner is well off. There's always the assumption that, oh, he's probably rich, he's rich, so she's marrying him for that better life, she's marrying him for the visa. And I kind of find it interesting because yes, there are cases like that. There are rich guys who goes there and marry but then marry Filipina, but then I would say, at least to be safe, like 95, 99, 5, 99% of the times, a lot of these guys, they're doing fine. They're not like rich, okay? They're just normal Joes. And a lot of times, and I'm saying this based on my own experience and also experiences of women I know, friends, who married to foreigners. A lot of times, actually, when the Filipina come to the U.S., they do end up working full time and they do end up helping the livelihood of the husband as a family. So it's not always the case. People think, she's gonna live like an easy life. No, that's not really the truth. The reality is, it is a better life because there are more opportunities. But the mindset that, oh, she's gonna be rich, that's not true. Well, her life's gonna be better for sure because there's opportunities, and if she happens to be a hard worker and she's got skills, a lot of Filipinas are nurses and teachers, then yes, the life would be better. And when people say this, some people will also gossip and say things like, oh, she's an opportunistic kind of woman, she's a gold digger, and things like that. And there are women who do that, and those are the type of women you want to avoid. But a lot of times when I think about it, I think people focus so much on it and approach it more negatively. But if you really think about it, um, it doesn't matter where the woman is from, Philippines, the West, it doesn't matter which part of the world. Any woman, if she has a choice, she will choose a man who is capable of supporting her, a man who is a good provider. I think that's very wise on her and on her end, right? To choose a man who's able to provide for her. I don't necessarily see anything wrong with that. So when I hear some things like this, I mean, it doesn't offend me, but that's one of the things that you might encounter, that kind of gossiping. All right, the second part is kind of weird. And again, this is almost kind of related to that love thing phenomena. When people see interracial couples, they say things like, the Filipina is marrying the foreigner because she wants to have good looking children. Yeah, this is kind of strange. But honestly, it's undeniable that when you see interracial couples with their children, you would also think, wow, those kids are good looking kids. And a lot of times that is the case. A lot of times, but not all the times, okay? Because, it is a mix, it is a mix genes of people coming from, two different races. So it will always be interesting, I guess. I mean, I think personally that way. So I've seen so many children of interracial couples, and a lot of times, yes, that is the case. The kids are really good looking and really cute kids. Do Filipina marry foreigners for this reason? Yes and no. Not everybody, but in all honesty, when it comes to Filipinas and the culture, Filipinas love children. And a lot of times when Filipinas start liking a guy, they always think of the possibility of having a child with that guy. You know, Filipinas get kind of serious that way. And a lot of times they would consider, they will always consider the genes. If they find something that they find to be a good quality, and she will actually add a lot of positive points on the man's behalf because of that. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this properly. I'm trying to like translate everything in English. So yeah, if she's very short and she wants to have taller children, yeah, then yeah, she might actually look for someone or prefer someone who's tall. And a lot of times, you can get that from a foreigner, someone who's tall. If she finds you to be smart, some Filipinas would specifically look for a man who's smart. So if you're an engineer, an architect, or a doctor, even better, then yeah, you would have a lot of points, good points on her list. If you're good looking, again, those are things that a lot of Filipinas look for. So when it comes to the negative opinions, a lot of the negative opinions will arise, will come. You will hear a lot of negative opinions when Filipinos see a big gap in certain conditions. Like if they see a big gap on age, like a big age gap, people will start talking because people find that to be not that it's uncommon, because the difference too is that the age gap may be a little bit different. Like over there, 10, 15 years is not really that big of a deal. It's very common to see Filipinos with men much older than them. 10, 15 years, that's actually, for some, that would be their preferred age gap. But sometimes when Filipinos see a very vast difference in age, like I'm talking way more than 15 years, that's when people start to gossip. When they see a big difference physically too, if the woman is very young, very pretty, the man is very old. And of course, sometimes no matter how good looking you are, when you age. And when people see that, people start to gossip. And handling that, it will be up to you. You cannot stop that. People see something like that, they see a big age gap, and they will gossip about it. I know a lot of couples who are, happy and still together even though there was a big age gap. So it's not necessarily that it's not gonna work, but people will talk about, oh, that's not gonna work. She's gonna end up leaving him, stuff like that. So yeah, those are the types of gossips that you kind of have to just deal with. You can't really avoid it. And people, when they see something like that kind of difference, you can't stop it. They're just gonna talk. So my personal experience on this, as I've mentioned, we have personally experienced some stigmatism and gossiping. Personally, not a lot of gossiping, not a lot of stigma in the Philippines, because my husband and I were not that different in age. Like he's only 3 years older than me, and when we got together, we were both on our early 20s. So a lot of people actually thought, oh, you guys look really cute together, really good together. I wonder what you guys as kids gonna look like. So in the Philippines, we didn't get that much of any negative, I'd say, opinion or reaction from people. It's more like here in the US, but in the Philippines, no. But there was this one experience. This is gonna be a story that I'm gonna share. And I didn't think it was that bad. I didn't think that kind of feeling still existed. I thought, we're kind of over that. But okay, here's the story. So when my husband was visiting the country, we were in Manila with my family. And one morning I decided, let's go for a walk in the Manila Bay Area. I thought, let's go ahead and look at the sunrise, stuff like that. So, we were walking in the sidewalk. I don't know what they call it. I can't remember what it's called. I'm going to try to put it here. But yeah, that Manila Bay Area. If you've been to the Philippines, you're probably familiar with this area. I can't talk anymore because it's quite popular. So we went there early morning, around 8:30 to 9, just walking, holding hands, talking. And then there was this group of Filipino men working in the sidewalk. And they saw us. And as soon as they saw us, they started like yelling words. I don't know if you can call it heckling, but probably not heckling. I don't know what the term is, but they started calling me names. And some of these names that they're calling me, they were very offensive. I was very offended, was very angry. I wanted to say something, but then one of the men in that group said something that I guess in a way made me think, and at the same time made me understand why they're saying what they're saying. He said something like, "Oh, one less Filipina for us." That's what he said. And so I thought, oh, so that's where it's coming from. So there's going to be some negative reaction from certain people. And I think that's coming from that history of, the, invasion of the foreigners, invaders in the country. Long time ago, obviously it happened. A lot of Filipinas were taken from their husbands and their fiancés, their boyfriends, whatever you call them, taken from their families. And because of those invasions, the Japanese occupation is really bad, looking at that history. And so I guess, I don't know why I thought of that when I heard that from him. Because when I heard him say that, I almost felt this feeling of, he was sad for some reason, like, oh, one less Filipino for us. So I guess there's this feeling of jealousy. And I remember I actually shared this to a friend who happened to be like a family friend who's a male, and I shared it to him, and he said, well, yeah, a lot of Filipinos do feel that way, but they will not speak up. A lot of Filipinos feel like all these pretty girls are being taken by all these foreigners. And yeah, we're jealous a lot of times, but there's nothing we can do about it. So I guess in that way, I understand, maybe looking at the history of the country. I don't know, for some reason, I felt like that's why they were saying what they're saying, not because, I don't know. I mean, for some reason, I had this feeling of not really sympathy, but maybe I looked into it so much history wise that I kind of interpreted it that way. So instead of saying something back, because I was angry at this point, a lot of these words they're calling me, I was so offended. But when that man, he didn't say anything except for that, oh, one less Filipina for us. For some reason, there was this sadness in his tone that made me kind of realize that's probably how they feel. So instead of saying something back, even though I was so angry at that point, I just, because my husband was like asking me like, what are they saying? Why are they screaming? And I said, nothing, nothing important. So I said, let's get out of here as soon as possible, because really that's the best way to handle that kind of situation. You don't want to get yourself in trouble in the Philippines if you're visiting. So that's my opinion on this matter. If you have any question, you can add it in the comments below. See you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.